Welcome back, my fellow soon-to-be dabbers. So far, we have talked about a lot of devices and things to do dabs with, but what we haven't talked about is what to put inside of all these dab machines that we're talking about. And it's probably my #1 question I get on any sort of forum or Discord that I hang out on. What rosin do I get? How do I even choose? And what do all these words mean? And really, how do I end up with the best experience when I go to the dispensary and try and choose something out? Well, hopefully after today's video, it will all become clear and easy for you to walk into the dispensary with authority and pick out the concentrates that are best for you. For starters, while I was browsing the wonderful World Wide Web, I found this beautiful infographic that I like to share. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I will touch on one of the things on here, which is distillate. While I do acknowledge that it is a thing that exists, it's not for me. I don't really like to encourage people using it. There's really no reason to these days. There are so many better options that we can just move away from distillate as a community, and I'll support that in every way possible. For this video, we are going to be talking about the two main types of concentrates, and that's resin and rosin. And really, we're just going to dive into the rosin part. I'm going to talk a little bit about resin, just so you know what it is and really why I avoid it. The easiest way to tell the difference between the two of them, and that's this letter right here. And the difference between resin and rosin is one big word called solvents. And solvents are things like butane, which makes BHO, CO2, and ethanol. Those are all chemicals that are used to strip the THC off of the flower. They take the flower, they put it in a tube or some other type of extraction chamber, and they spray butane over it or some other solvent. And there's a whole process that strips out all of the THC with that solvent. And then they use something like vacuum pressure to evaporate all of that solvent out, or at least as much of it as they try to or can, depending on the quality of the manufacturer, which is really why I tend to stay away from resin. And I know that's really difficult in a lot of states where medicinal is really still becoming a thing, and they're really trying to figure out how to regulate concentrates. If you do come across things like resin and that's your only option, just make sure you're sticking to a reputable brand or someone that you know has good practices and will do the best they can to get all of the solvents out of your concentrates. And last up, while we wrap up talking about resin, is if you see anything like sugar or butter or diamonds, those all typically will be resin. So even though it might not say resin on it, if it doesn't say rosin or doesn't say hash rosin, chances are it's resin and made with solvents. And just take the extra step and ask your bud tender if it's made with solvents. Next up, let's talk about rosin. And just make sure that you're seeing that O there. And that's really how you know that the process to make this concentrate solventless, typically using only water and ice sometimes. For the easy part of rosin, we have flower rosin. Flower rosin, you literally just take the nug, put it inside of a filter bag, and squish the nug between two hot plates with pressure to squeeze off all of the THC. And you're using the pressure and the heat to essentially melt all of the crystals off and collect that into rosin. And in the evolution of rosin and other concentrates, this word right here, hash, has changed a little bit. And now we have to think of two different types of hash. There's traditional hash, which refers to the methods like bubble hash or temple ball hash, and I like to call that traditional hash because traditional hash still is a thing, and it's something I really like to consume. But nowadays, with the popularity of rosin, a lot of people are just calling rosin hash. Rosin isn't always hash rosin, and hash isn't always rosin, so it can get a little confusing there. And basically, if something is hash rosin, that just means that the flower was first processed into hash, and then that hash is put into more filter bags and squished between those low temp pressure plates to squeeze out all of the crystals into hash rosin. So when we're talking about rosin or hash rosin, or even sometimes some of these terms are used in resin, you're gonna start seeing a lot of words pop up that you're gonna need to know. And the first ones are live or fresh frozen. This means that the flower was turned into hash before it was cured. And if it's fresh frozen, it was put into the freezer before it was made into hash. And I'm not gonna dive too much into the science or processes of these two things, but just know that the more detail spent in doing things like fresh frozen or live always add to the quality, flavor, and cleanliness of your concentrates. So these are things that good hash makers really strive to do to give you the best results possible. Then you'll see a word called micron, which is also represented by a U. So if you see a number like 70 to 119U or 119 to 70U, depending on how they put the numbers, that's referring to the micron level. And what that is how much material can pass through the filter bags. So the higher the micron, the more plant material or material in general that's been filtered out. And the more plant material that's filtered out will lead to a higher taste and a higher quality and a cleaner burn. But with that does come some things that you are giving up. And that is you are stripping out some of the other cannabinoids and things that you get out of the plant material. And if you're looking for heavy medical benefits, sometimes using something like traditional hash like temple ball or just flower in general can give you more entourage effects and give you a more full spectrum experience out of what you're consuming. They do make full spectrum concentrates, which I know a few people that really enjoy those. I don't see those too often at dispensaries here in California, but when I do see it, it is something really fun to try because it does lend to a different experience than just straight up hash rosin that's been filtered up to the 119 mark. So next up, you're looking at the list of concentrates. You figured out that they have hash rosin. It's got a micron on the box. It's live. It's fresh frozen, it's all the good words that you see on the box, and then you are confronted with some more words. And these words right here are going to refer to the consistency of the concentrates. So when I talked about resin, I mentioned words like diamonds and sugar and batter and all that other stuff. That also refers to the consistency of the concentrates. So for hash rosin, you have three main consistencies. There's some other ones like sauce and thumbprints, but we're not gonna go too far into that, and we're gonna just stick to the basics. And those are cold cure, fresh press, and water hash. Let's start off with the easiest to deal with and some of the most prevalent, which is cold cure. Cold cure is gonna be a very solid, almost butter-like consistency, something like this. It's going to be a golden color and almost look like a wet Play-Doh. This is the material I like the most and tend to stick to often. And the reason for that is because cold cure is the most shelf stable. It handles being out of the fridge the most and really can take a little bit of abuse. I also like cold cure because it's the easiest to deal with when putting onto a dab tool and scooping out your dab. It has great flavor and really is just my all-around go-to type of concentrate. Next up, we have fresh press. For those of you that remember the days of something called shatter, fresh press is gonna be the most similar consistency-wise to shatter. Essentially like a sap, a really thick, sticky material that when you scoop up with your dab tool, if it's a little warm, it'll string out like melted cheese, making it a little difficult to deal with. Because with these concentrates, you really should be keeping them in the fridge. Unlike resin, which doesn't really matter if you keep it out of the fridge, giving it 1 point. But for the good stuff, you want to keep this stuff in the fridge or even sometimes in the freezer. So for fresh press, when it's this really sap material and you keep it in the fridge and you take it out, now you have to wait a little bit for it to warm up so you can scoop some out. And then if you wait too long, it gets way too sticky. And if you don't wait long enough, now it's like chipping off ice shards and it flies everywhere. Let me just say that while fresh press has some really amazing flavor, it's just too difficult for me to deal with on a regular basis. Again, that's why I just stick to cold cure. Last up, we have water hash. And while water hash is some of the best tasting, cleanest effects, amazing experience as far as concentrate goes. It is probably some of the most difficult to deal with. And why I say that is because water hash really should be kept in the freezer. And if it's left out too long, the consistency changes and becomes kind of gooey and more like fresh press. And when you dab it, it leaves behind a lot of material. So it leaves your banger really dirty, your Puffco really dirty, and then if you put that in your ISO dunk, now your ISO dunk has a lot of particulates flying around in it. As much as I love water hash and it just tastes so good, and really for those true connoisseurs is top notch, it's kind of a pain to deal with. So while I do keep some in my freezer, it's really one of those special occasion type things. So with the effort it takes for water hash and the difficultness that fresh press can present, that really just leaves me with cold cure, which is the easiest thing to deal with, the most shelf stable, some of the easiest to find, and really some of the easiest to see quality. Because depending on the color, and if it looks a little glossy on the top with wetness for those terpenes, you can really kind of get a good base on whether the person making the cold cure did a good job. So now that we've talked about all the keywords, let's go ahead and pretend like we went to the dispensary and check out some jars. I want to start with just a special shout out to Nasha, which is my all-time favorite dispensary brand for things like Temple Ball hash, which is a traditional hash. And traditional hash is going to be a little more solid or powdery depending on what type. It will still melt and bubble if done correctly, but it definitely is easy to handle and easy to roll up in joints or put on top of my dry herb vape bowls. Then something like cold cure, which is a little glossy on the top and really has that nice thick consistency, nothing runny or wet or really sticky to deal with. I don't have any fresh press on me and my water hash is going to stay in the freezer for the time being, but let's go ahead and check out some jars just so you can see in action some of the words. Like this one says live hash rosin 119 to 70U. So now that we all know what that means, we can put that into practice and say this was made into rosin before it was cured. It was made into hash before it was made into rosin. It was filtered down to the 119 70U mark, meaning this was a good quality rosin. Then we have another box that just throws all the words on there. Indoor, live rosin, cold cure, wet batter. Kind of redundant with the wet batter part because that should be given from the cold cure. Indoor just means that the flower that this was made with was grown indoor. And then live rosin, well, we know what that means. And then something I notice on this box here is this number, a 1. And what that means is that's the wash. Because you can take the hash and wash it multiple times, tier 1 hash rosin will be the most flavorful and have the best effects, but also will be very pricey. A tier 2 with some manufacturers can be just as good on flavor and effects, but will just be a little less so on both of those fronts. But because it's a little less on the flavor and effects, it's definitely a little less on the price. Sometimes it's just printed on the bottom, like some Lindsay Lohan that I tried. Again, just a 70 to 119 cold cure. And last up, we'll check this really fancy box from Trilogy 710, and we'll look at the side. It was some mochi mints by Mendoza, and a bunch of licensing stuff for California, package date, best by date. Package date is always really good to look at to see how long the concentrate has been inside the container. And then we have THC percent and the CBD percent. I just want to touch on the fact that THC percent doesn't really matter, and that you really should be looking at things like total active cannabinoids or just really what terpene are in that strain, because that's really what's going to make all the difference in the effects that you feel. And you can find that on the side of the box where it will say total active cannabinoids or TAC. The other thing that you can look at is if it has the terps percentage. The higher the terps percentage, the better for sure, because that's where you're going to get most of your effects and most of your flavor from. So I really like that this manufacturer put basically all the information from THC percent to the terpene percent, total cannabinoids, and you should also be able to ask your dispensary for all of that information. Well, I hope that wasn't too much of an overload, and hopefully that helps you walk into a dispensary with confidence and gets you the best concentrate for you. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay lifted. Psst, come hang out with us on Discord.